Welcome to this presentation covering the Genian ZTNA Gateway. This presentation will focus on how the Genian ZTNA Gateway can help solve some of the challenges presented by legacy VPN architecture. To begin, let's discuss three of the most common challenges of typical legacy VPN architecture. First, with legacy VPN architecture, the internal network is exposed. This is because it requires ports open to the VPN server from the internet. This exposure of the internal network increases risk. This means that if a VPN vulnerability is exploited, the internal network may be vulnerable. Next, the lack of strong multi-factor authentication. Some legacy VPNs may not support any form of MFA. And even if MFA is supported, it may be insufficient. This may allow imposters to remotely connect if a user device or password is compromised. Ideally, a verifiable method should be used to positively identify all remote users. And finally, too much access may be granted. Traditional VPN access is typically too broad. Because of this, users may have access to the entire internal network. There is also typically a lack of granular access policies based on actual context. Too much access increases the attack surface if unauthorized access is gained to the internal network. Now let's review how the Genian ZTNA Gateway can help solve these challenges. First, the internal network is not exposed. There is no requirement to open inbound ports to the private network when deploying. This reduces risk because the private network is not exposed to the outside world. Additionally, if there is a vulnerability that is exploited, the internal network is not at risk. Next, let's review multi-factor authentication. Genian ZTNA supports strong MFA. This prevents imposters from remotely connecting if a user device or password is compromised. Strong MFA using a feature such as passkeys can biometrically identify remote users for positive identification. And finally, only the required access is granted. Following the guidelines in the Zero Trust framework, Genian ZTNA implements least privilege access. This means users connecting only have access to the internal resources required to perform their work. Additionally, granular access policies are applied based on context, such as identity, location, and security posture status. By implementing least privilege access, the potential attack surface is greatly reduced in the event unauthorized access is somehow gained. Now, let's review a diagram to visually depict how a legacy VPN functions and the security challenges with the architecture. First, you have the remote user. They may be working from home, traveling, they could be located anywhere. Next, you have the internal resource they are trying to access. This could be inside a corporate data center or in the cloud. Just like the user, the resource they are attempting to access could be located anywhere. For the purposes of this example, we will use a corporate headquarters data center. To access the internal resource remotely, the user's traffic must traverse the internet, first through the local provider to connect, and from there, the connection is from the internet into the corporate internal network. This is typically facilitated by using a VPN client, which establishes a tunnel to the VPN server. The issue with this architecture is that allows direct inbound access to the internal network. As a result, the internal network is now exposed, which increases risk. Let's assume for a moment that a remote user's PC becomes infected or is compromised. This scenario puts potentially the entire internal network at risk and has created a broad attack surface for a bad actor or malware. Now, let's use a diagram to depict how the Genian ZTNA Gateway architecture differs from legacy VPN architecture and addresses the challenges previously mentioned. The use case and scenario are the same. You have a remote user and a resource they must be able to access securely. Again, the remote user must initially connect through a local service provider for internet access. However, the goal will be to terminate the secure tunnel connection outside of the corporate network. To facilitate this, a Genian ZTNA Gateway is deployed in a different location, such as your managed service provider's network. Or the gateway may be deployed in the public cloud service provider of your choice. A Genian network sensor is then deployed at the corporate data center. This is to prevent from having to open any inbound access to the corporate network. Instead, the on-prem sensor establishes a secure outbound tunnel to the Genian ZTNA Gateway. With the user's inbound connection now terminating at the ZTNA Gateway, only specific and authorized traffic is allowed through to the corporate network. And this, of course, only takes place after authentication. Strong MFA and a posture check have been performed. This architecture helps to ensure the internal corporate network is kept as secure as possible. Now, in the unlikely event that an infected or compromised device gains access, lateral movement is limited, which greatly reduces any potential attack surface. Of course, with properly configured policies, typically a bad actor or device with an insecure posture will not gain access to the internal corporate network anyway. This is because it would be blocked at the point of policy failure, which is the Genian ZTNA Gateway. Let's examine some of the checks performed by Genian ZTNA before granting any type of access beyond the gateway. First, a form of strong MFA is recommended. Using a feature such as passkeys, biometric MFA can be performed during authentication. With this configuration, even if a bad actor gains access to both an authorized user's device and password, they will fail MFA. When this failure occurs, they will be blocked at the ZTNA Gateway. Next, a posture assessment can be performed on the endpoint utilizing the Genian ZTNA agent. Over 100 agent plugins are available to verify the endpoint security of the device. Checks such as antivirus compliance, OS update status, and only authorized applications can be performed. Even the use of external media devices, such as USB drives, can be disabled as part of the policy. If any of the checks fail, access is denied, and no traffic will be allowed beyond the ZTNA Gateway. And finally, least privilege access is recommended. By only allowing access to the resource required for work to be performed, risk is greatly reduced, and even this access is only granted after all other checks have passed. Least privilege access may also be configured on a per-application basis. With traffic passing through the ZTNA Gateway, application traffic flows are tracked and visualized in the UI. Details regarding top applications and traffic utilization are available to administrators to help them audit specific application access requirements during testing before they configure policies. Once application testing and auditing is complete, administrators can choose from over 3,000 predefined applications when setting policies. Custom application creation is also available for applications not matching existing patterns. The flexibility of the Genian ZTNA architecture allows for the deployment in any environment. Whether your network is managed by your MSP, you have deployed resources into a public cloud service provider, or even in hybrid environments, the Genian ZTNA Gateway architecture can be deployed to meet your needs. With Genian ZTNA, visibility, context, and control go beyond your remote users. With on-prem sensors deployed, the same type of security can be implemented inside of the corporate internal network for employees in the office, IoT devices, and even OT environments. This is outside the scope of legacy VPN solutions, which must be combined with other solutions or products to provide similar features. Even then, multiple systems and UI logins are typically required. The Genian ZTNA combined UI allows you to view every detail of users and devices connecting inside the network as well. This provides one-stop shopping for visibility and control regardless of the location of the user or device. Visit Genians.com today to start your free trial and experience visibility and control over any user and any device in any location.